everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lonely Sluts podcast. I'm Claire.
And I'm Sarah.
And today, we're going to be talking about first dates. Oh, a source of great anxiety, a source of great gastrointestinal distress for me.
Oh, same.
Yeah. Let's just jump right in. Sarah, do you remember what your very first date ever was? I'm talking like your first date, like if you went on like a kindergarten date, and then like your first date ever, like that actually counts.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I had any legitimate like first dates from like kindergarten through middle school, because all of my main hangouts during that time were group hangouts. Like I hardly ever did any solo hangouts. So.
No, that counts. Like, did you ever go on a group date?
Oh, there's been times where kind of, yeah, I guess in 7th grade. Yeah. I had like a group, like we were all hanging out, and then it kind of came to be like a weird date thing between me.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the boy. I want to hear the story.
Okay, so we were at Sports Zone, which was a very popular place.
Sounds like one of the camps I would
in my area growing up, where they basically just had a lot of different places where you could play like basketball and dodgeball, and like there was this like pit you could just hang out in, and they also had like arcade stuff, and they just had a bunch of stuff going on. And it was popular for all of like 2.5 years, and then I think it went out of business. Mm-hmm. But so I was there.
The boy.
Yeah, so I was there with friends, and there was this guy in my grade also there, and we were already friends, but through some, I can't remember. I honestly think it was a miscommunication, but through some weird, like, he said, she said, someone said that he liked me, and I was like, oh, well, tell him that, like, I wouldn't mind going on a date with him, or I wouldn't mind dating him, and basically through, like, by the end of that night, we were dating.
Oh, that's the best. God, I miss 7th grade.
Yeah, like, he used his tickets from the arcade to get me, like, a fake little ring, and we dated for all of about 4 days until I realized that I liked him better as a friend, and I told him that to his face. I was like, we're good friends. And he was like, yeah, okay. And that was that. What about you? What was your, like, first date?
Well, in prep for this recording, I wrote down a list of all the first dates I've ever been on. And there are 3 that could all be perceived as my first ever date. It's kind of confusing. The first one is I had a boyfriend in 5th grade, and we went to get Mexican food, but our moms were both there. So
That's
I don't feel like that
date.
counts. Yeah, but like we went out, like we like went
it's
and we
a
sat at a
supervised
table.
Date.
Yeah, so like there's that. That's the first one. I liked him in elementary school, but that's regrettable because he's like in high school he was like a huge dork, and
that was
like
me.
Buyer's remorse, but like with a boy. And then in 8th grade I went on a group date he was my boyfriend, my 8th grade boyfriend Jaime. I've mentioned him before. We went to see a movie with like my whole class, like almost my whole class went. There was only 25 kids in my grade. And he put his arm around me during that, so it was definitely a date. I don't think he paid for my ticket because, like, our parents were still buying our stuff at that point. Like, nobody had jobs, so nobody had money.
Sorry, that reminds me. I think I also went on a group date to the movies. Now that you say
do you
that.
have amnesia?
Sorry, I think I do have amnesia. Like, until you say something that, like, vaguely reminds me of a part of my past, I just don't recall them.
Was that a first date? Do you want to talk about it?
Oh, it was, like, it wasn't, in my head, it was just a group hangout, and then but it was 2 guys and 2 girls, and, like, I had kind of been interested in the one guy that I mostly ended up, like, talking to and hanging out with, and, like, we sat beside each other, and then, like, the other girl and the other guy sat beside each other, and, like, we did the whole, like, arms around, like, each other type thing.
It's so awkward.
It is. We also...
Was the arm down at the movie theater?
I remember he made a bet. Like, there was a predictable part of the movie coming up. It was towards the end of the movie. And he was like, oh, I bet if this guy, like, makes this shot or, like, does this thing, like, like, that's gonna happen. You have to kiss me. And I was like, oh, I bet he's not gonna make it. And then we're just not gonna kiss. Like, don't kiss me. And
Did you not want to?
And I don't know. I think I was just being spiteful because he did that. And the guy ended up not making it. And I was like, ha, whatever. And then
like, ha, it's like, now we don't kiss.
Yeah, I know. And then I was like, bye. So
that feels like super on brand for you.
I know. Like, if that didn't color the rest of my experiences. Like...
Okay, and then my first ever, like, real life, this is 100% a date. Like, this cannot be interpreted another way. Was in 11th grade. It was this boy who he went to a different high school. My friend, like, set us up via text message. And he and his girlfriend had just broken up, like, 2 months ago, and she was already seeing another guy. And they had dated for, like, years before. And I hadn't dated anybody since my 8th grade boyfriend, you know. And, I meet him at this barbecue restaurant, and looking back on it now, it really wasn't good. I just didn't have anything to base it on. He talked about his ex, like, a lot, but I was just yeah, this is us getting to know each other.
That's a red flag.
Oh yeah, he was really upset about the guy she was dating. But after that was literally during dinner. But then after dinner, we went to the beach and walked on the beach. And that part was very nice. This dude, I went out with him for like 3 months. We didn't go out, like, he was not exclusive. I mean, I wasn't seeing anybody else, but, like, he wasn't my boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Like, we were just, like, kind of casually seeing each other. And he was a really good dater. And our first date, I have very good memories of. Like, the beach walk part was awesome. The dinner part was, like, I mean, in retrospect, very awkward. But when I was there,
much to be desired.
Yeah, when I was there, I was like, this is just how it goes. But, yeah, he later... whatever, like 3 months later, he broke up with me for that same girl, and they're still together.
Oh, wow.
So, like, I think they're gonna get married. And I am the only other girl he's dated. He's also the only boy who's ever broken up with me for real. And he really only did because his mom made him. But, like, shout out to his mom for making him break up with me. Because...
And now he's with the love of his life.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah. I mean, like, he and I weren't... It was okay. I was gonna break up with him anyway. Like, I was killing time. But, like, shout out to him and his mother for making him break up with me, because that's the best thing. That's the healthiest relationship I've ever been in.
That makes me think, like, when I was younger, I feel like I went on better, like, so-called dates than when I was older, because, like,
really?
I had, like, there was less options, if that makes sense. So, like, we had to do stuff that... like, where we just involved, like, talking to each other and hanging out. So, like, before I could drive, I remember this guy would come to my neighborhood, and we would just walk around my neighborhood, and then we'd, like, lay out on, like, the grass or the golf course, and we would just, like, lay there, like, talking for, like, an hour, and then he'd, like, walk me home. And,
that's so nice.
Yeah, or, like, we'd hang out on the beach and do, like, the same thing. Like, they were really nice, I guess.
It's that, like, emotional intimacy.
Yeah, like,
I'm looking for.
It was nice. Like, I think only once, like, I actually went to his house, and, like, we watched a movie, and, like, that was it, and then my mom picked me up. But, like, those were nice little fake whatever they were dates. Like, that was something...
Those weren't fake. You just didn't have a car. That was all you could do.
That was physically all I could do. I could just walk. I could walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, those were, in retrospect, those were kind of nice. So, I guess those were the best dates I've had. Pre-driving.
Okay. So, now that we've talked about our very first date, Sarah, you've done a little bit of research.
I have. Okay, yeah. Ladies and gents, let's get into it. So regarding first dates, a lot of the stuff, when you look on, like, actual, like, journal articles and stuff, it looks on online dating and then meeting face-to-face for the first time, or, like, meeting for your first date for the first time. So this is all... like, in these next few articles that I mentioned, this is all regarding online dating and then subsequently meeting face-to-face. So the first one is Gender Differences in Online Dating. What do we know so far? A Systematic Literature Review. This was published...
Sounds riveting.
This is some good shit. You can tell I would double majored in women and gender studies. Published in the 2016 49th Hawaii International Conference on System Sciences. I know, right? It's essentially a meta-review of existing research on the differences in male and female use of online dating with respect to motivation, preferences, self-presentation, interaction, and outcomes. I already mentioned this to you, Claire, but there was one statement I didn't like towards the beginning that basically said physical attractiveness is key, like the key criteria for men, while women, being much more demanding, prioritize socioeconomic attributes when choosing a male partner. I found that so extra and annoying.
Yeah, I don't like the way they painted that. Much more demanding.
So what I found aggravating about that statement was physical attractiveness is mostly genetics. Like, yes, you can groom yourself, you can exercise and do stuff like that, but like symmetry of your face, like your nose structure, like certain things that are just genetic. Whereas, and then also with socioeconomic status, obviously not every group is afforded the same opportunities. Like, not every group has the same upward mobility and like all of these things. But there's more aspects of that I feel like you can change than you can your face and body.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I just think more demanding feels
and then saying,
and I don't like that.
Yeah, and then like they didn't need to have that little caveat there. Like, they did not need to have that clause interjected in between those two commas. It made me very irritated. But aside from that, interesting. It's an interesting study. So it mentions within the study, it mentions that females are actually more reluctant to meet other users face-to-face since they need more computer-mediated interaction compared to males before an actual meeting offline. And so I wondered what your thoughts were on this, because I actually kind of agree with that. Like, I feel like I need more, like, I need to talk to them a little bit more. I need to understand their, like, style of communication, how they feel about certain things, like how their humor is, like all of that stuff before I meet with them, so I know if we're going to be able to have an easy going conversation, if that makes sense.
So initially I was like, yeah, of course you want to talk more. But then I realized my recent trends have just been like, you know me, I like to come up with like procedures. So what I was doing before was, if I could not translate a conversation to a date within a week, I dropped the guy. I was like, if I can't make this into plans within 1 week, what's the point? But that said, I think this is kind of depressing, but I think men are a little bit less worried about getting killed by their hookups.
True. I thought, I think it did mention that as well, as like the stalking and like terrible outcome parts.
There's so much bad, and I feel like women are at a very vulnerable position. So you want to make sure that the dude you're meeting isn't going to kill you. And that sounds like dramatic, but it's literally what I mean.
I know, that's why there's like, I feel like there's so many things talking about like, oh, make sure everyone knows who and like where and when you're meeting up. Make sure it's in a public place. Make sure you have a way out for women. Whereas guys, it's like, make sure she's not fat. Like, it's so stupid, the differences in the advice given to people before their first dates. But I digress. The article also stated that there's actually more evidence that both men and women tend to have similar amount of first date experiences offline using online dating platforms, but...
Well, that makes sense, because they have to date each other.
I know, like, who else are they gonna date?
Like, I mean, like, you could use Grindr, I guess, like, as an example of men dating men, but, like, obviously, the men have to wait until the women want to meet them if they're trying to meet the women. That's silly.
And then it also said that females have higher dropout rates in terms of their subsequent evaluation of their dating partner. And the literature review suggested that this is because women focus on quality while guys focus on quantity. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't want to date a shitty dude. I could date a ton of shitty dudes if I wanted to, and I just don't want to. I want to date one quality dude.
I feel like this literature review keeps painting it as women being like the most, or like trying, like being as the harder people to appease, when I feel like we're being the most realistic. Like, we're making the most sense. Like,
yeah. Like, okay, maybe, sure, I'll own it. Like, yeah, if it's difficult, I'm difficult. We've already accepted the fact that I'm difficult. You know this. If you listen to any of these podcasts, you know that I'm difficult. But, like, yeah, I want to date not a shitty dude, and I care more about, like, who you are as a person than what you look like. What you look like matters.
It
a lot.
does. It matters with physical chemistry. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah, that's everything. Like, I went on a date with this one dude who I alluded to I don't remember which podcast, but I referred to him as Gallant. Like, he was the guy who texted me and was like, all right, I'll talk to you Tuesday. And then we went out on a date. And, like, our conversation was great. I would hire him, but I never want to touch him. Like, I felt bad about it. Like, he was a really nice dude. Like, we had great conversation. He was, like, kind of funny. He asked me a lot of questions about myself.
That'll come up later.
Yeah. But he was, like, ugh. He was not, he couldn't throw me.
I think it's interesting in how I view people, like, how I consider their physical attractiveness, whether I met them in person first and got to talk with them first, versus whether I saw their face on a dating app and can't talk with them and meet them in person first, if that makes sense.
I'm so much more critical.
I am so much more critical, and I hold them to much higher standards on dating apps than when I meet people in person. When I meet people in person, I think I still care about looks, but I care about them less because I'm actually talking with them and, like, laughing with them. Yeah. And that's influencing, I think, how I see them physically. Whereas when I simply see them on paper, I'm being much more critical. And then physical attractiveness becomes a little bit more, like, of a higher stake for me. So I view it higher than
also seeing people in motion and, like, pheromones and stuff is a whole nother game changer.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because, like, I feel like I can objectively be like, I recognize that this person isn't conventionally attractive, but when I'm with them, like, I like them. Like,
me and all of the guys I've been involved with.
And then when I'm on dating apps, I'm like, ooh, no. And I just do it so quickly. And I'm like, I wouldn't even be like that in real life. I don't know. It's so weird to me.
Oh, yeah. In real life, I'm way more like I spend more I'll give anybody a shot. You come up and talk to me, I'll talk to you. But on the app, I'm like, nope, loser, bye. Gross.
I know. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But moving on to our next research article, which is What Predicts First Date Success? A longitudinal study of modality switching in online dating.
I love that you've got these, like, journal articles. Oh
I know.
God, so
a bitch loves her journal articles.
Oof.
So this was published in the Personal Relationships Journal in 2017, so still pretty recent. And it investigated the effects of online dating sites on first date success. Participants were surveyed before their first date with someone from an online dating site, and then again after meeting their partner in person. And basically this whole thing just said that the findings indicated first date success was predictable from features of their online impressions and relational dynamics. So essentially, the foundation for a successful relationship may already be in place before two people meet offline for their first date, which I feel like makes sense to me. Like, if you met through an app or a dating website and you've been talking for a good bit and you're, like, setting up that first face-to-face meeting and that first date, you've already understood each other's, like, communication behaviors. You've already gotten a little bit of each other's sense of humor and, like, who they are as a person. So I feel like that would definitely influence your first date success.
Oh, yeah. It's nice to have, like, a little joke or something from before that you can, like,
reference.
Like, yeah. You're like, oh, we have things in common. Remember that joke? Yeah.
Remember that joke we had? That's our joke.
Yeah. But, like, it's nice to be able to reference, or, like, you had a conversation and then, like, you're talking in real life,
and then you can just, like, spin off on that.
You told me. Yeah, and that makes it seem like you're paying attention because you are. You know.
And you can understand how they're gonna, like, kind of respond to stuff, or, like, their type of, like, response. Like, I don't know. I feel like it'd be easier to bounce off of it once you already know how they kind of speak.
That's like going into it with somebody you kind of know versus just, like, a total blind date.
True.
Which, like,
never been on. Very scared of.
The guy I went out with in 11th grade wasn't a total blind date, but I hadn't met him before our first date. We had just been texting.
Interesting. And my last journal, my specifically journal article, has dating become more egalitarian? A 35-year review using sex roles. So this was published in the Sex Roles Journal in 2011, so a little more dated. But it examined research on heterosexual dating published in the journal since its inception. It suggests that heterosexual dating among young adults in the U.S. remains highly gender-typed in terms of cultural scripts, as well as interpersonal scripts. So basically, things haven't really gotten, I guess, more equal over time, they're saying, with regards specifically to first dates. Because people are more likely to stick to cultural scripts and stereotypes, like behavioral stereotypes on how to act in certain situations when, like, in situations of uncertainty. So, for instance, like a first date or making a first impression on someone. The article also mentioned that formal and informal institutionalized power of men is still stronger than people recognize, so the prevailing gender dating script is likely to be adhered to most strongly on a first date. And then some examples of just like cultural norms and stereotypical behaviors that people tend to adhere to on these first dates are like men asking the women out, men planning and paying for the date, whereas women are expected to kind of like keep themselves looking nice and groomed properly, and also facilitate the conversation and stuff like that. So how do you feel on that?
I mean, as far as like sticking to a cultural script, I think that's fine. I love a routine, TBH. But I personally, I'm not afraid of making the first move. Mm-hmm. I frequently in my endeavors have been like, hey, let's go grab drinks. Like, that's my new thing on Tinder, is like, hey, let's grab a drink. Let's go grab drinks. And I asked football out the first time. I was like, let's get drinks. Like, let's go out. I asked football out the second time. And like, I don't know, I've initiated a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So as far as like the asking out, I don't know. I mean, like, I would love to be asked out by somebody I like. That would be an amazing thing that rarely, if never, happens. Yeah. Literally, I'm like trying to think. I don't know. I've been asked out by like 2 guys, 3 guys, but I've been on 8 first dates. I have a list. I'll go through what they were later. I'll go through what they were later. But as far as like men paying for the date, I think on all of my first dates, the guys have paid. That's not because I always offer, but then this is kind of weird. If I like them, I will let them pay.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah, but if I don't like them, I will fight a little bit harder. Is it because you don't want to feel like you owed
something to someone you don't like?
Yes. So like I went on this date with this dude who we will call Dragon Boy, and I'll talk about him. I went on a date with this guy, Dragon Boy, and we were going to dinner and a movie. This is our first date. We only went on one date. 10 minutes into dinner, I was like, oh, this is going downhill fast. And so like when the bill got there, he was like gonna pay, and I was like, let me take care of mine. And he was like, no. And I was like, let me take care of mine. And then we still went to a movie afterwards, and I was like, please let me buy my ticket. And he was like, no, I got it. And I was like, no, please let me. And he was like, no, I'll get points and we can use them next time. And I was like, oh, baby,
there's not going to be a next time.
I almost didn't make it to the movie, but I wanted to see it. And it was good, but I was so worried he was going to touch me the whole time, and I just didn't want to deal with that. He didn't. That's but, good. Like, yeah, I don't know. But, like, other than that, I've let dudes buy my drinks and stuff, or, like, dinner. Like, if I like them, I'll be like, oh, I can pay. And they'll be like, no, I got it. I'll be like, oh, well, thank you. Like, that's kind of, because I can pay. I'm a grown-ass woman with a job. Like, I can do that. And I want them to know that I'm capable, and I don't expect them to. But if I like them and they offer, I will let them.
I remember no guy had ever let me pay for stuff before, like in high school and early college. And then this one guy, I was like, oh, let me get like the Chinese takeout or something. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll get you next time or something like that. And for some reason, that small act of him letting me pay for the first time, I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like, it made me like him a little bit more than I already had.
When I was going out with football and we like went out very regularly for several months, we probably split it. Like, I'd buy dinner sometimes. I bought movie ticket. Like, it was just very much more equal over time because, like, you know, we saw each other more than once. But most of these first dates, I let these guys buy me drinks, and then I don't talk to them again.
I say if it's something where I think it's more platonic and I think that they may think it's more romantic, I will definitely suggest that I pay for myself or I pay for both of us. And I feel like I don't know why it shouldn't send the message that I think I'm not interested in them, but I feel like it does a little bit. Like,
well, that's kind of why I let the guys I like pay for me versus the guys I don't like. I don't know. I don't know why, but yeah, the cultural script and such.
Interesting. So you know us bitches love Psychology Today articles, so
Hell
I definitely
yes, we do.
definitely got a few of those in here.
Tell me about it.
The first one is 6 tips to practice on a first date.
Ooh, we love tips.
Here are some tips. Let's see if we agree with them or not. The first one is be on time, which I 10,000% agree with. I think it's a sign of respect. I think you show that you respect their time. And yeah, I don't think there's much more to say on that. I am a punctual gal, and I love when other people are punctual too.
I'm usually, like, for stuff I'm anxious about, i.e. first dates, I'm usually early. Except when I went out with football, I was like 5 minutes late. That's probably why he doesn't want to date me anymore. But I will say, okay, being punctual, I think in the year of our Lord 2019, you should always meet. You should not let your first date pick you up, because there is a danger risk. A lot of the time you're getting like strangers. Like, it's not like you're going out with your next door neighbor who you know, unless you are going out with your next door neighbor who you know. Unless you already know this person, meet them there so you have your own car so you can leave.
That's
so
smart.
Yeah, I don't think you should, like, once you've established that you're like, oh, this dude's like probably fine, you can like ride together or pick up or whatever. I'm a big fan of carpooling in general, but like for that first date, you need an escape route.
Very true. I agree. So the second tip is listen and ask intriguing questions. So basically this is just engage in active listening and provide follow-up questions or make comments on the statements that they make, rather than either just like talking about yourself or basically not doing those things. I feel like that's pretty explanatory. Like that makes sense. Like,
that's just called having a good conversation.
Yeah.
Getting to know people. Yeah, you should do those things.
So that one's pretty straightforward. The next one is don't bring up your ex. Yeah, so it says you're there to get to know a new person and share new experiences on the first date. And just as a whole other thing, dating new people isn't a healthy way to get over someone if that's your whole intention. So I feel like that's a good tip as well.
Yeah, I have some thoughts that I'm not going to bring up about that.
So moving on.
Yeah.
The next one is, these are all pretty self-explanatory, but this one, just have fun. Try not to let...
How can you do that on purpose?
I
like,
know.
That's just the side effect of having like a good date.
Yeah, its main idea is to not let stress or anxiety like rule your emotions. Still have, like, regardless of whether this results in a relationship or something like that, their whole idea is that you can still have an opportunity to laugh and talk with someone. You can practice your conversational skills. Like, it's still an opportunity for you to converse and like just be out in the world, even if it doesn't result in exactly what you wanted. So they're saying basically like,
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, like put away your anxieties, because regardless, this could be a good experience for you. And then the last one is stay off of your phone.
Yes.
I feel like that's so important in this day and age, on first dates specifically. I mean, really throughout all of your time hanging out with someone one-on-one or in group settings when you're like supposed to be more in the moment. But it says stay off your phone. Studies have shown that a large number of individuals who experience a bad first date do so because their date spent most of their time on their phone.
Do you know who's really bad about that?
Who?
Guess.
I don't know.
T-shirt.
That feels right.
Yeah, we only went on one actual date, and I mean, like, we saw each other more than that, but we went on one actual date, and I have a very vivid memory of him being like on his phone and me being like, oh, that's rude. Like, I consciously thought about it, but then, you know, my dumbass just kept on trucking with that.
You know, I think one of the last times I hung out with Study Abroad, he was like mostly on his phone, and I was like, that should probably be the signal that this isn't going to last across an ocean, but
Well.
So yeah, those were the main tips from one of the Psychology Today articles.
Okay, I agree with them.
Okay, so the next article we have is also from Psychology Today, and it is the best conversation topic for a first date. So, some research conducted by Marissa T. Cohen in 2016 of 390 predominantly heterosexual survey respondents agreed that the most successful conversation topic was on the woman. So basically, just let the lady talk about herself, and that will lead to a good first date.
I mean,
Which is confusing if they were both women, but I digress, I guess.
they would just defer the whole time. Be like, no, you talk about you.
And then it would just be
Or
infinity for that. They're stuck in that coffee shop just going back and forth.
Or they would just compete, like, to talk about themselves more back and forth.
I don't know which one would be worse, to be honest.
I'm the woman. They would both be terrible.
So basically, the article said that when it comes to conversation, a first date is all about her. So successful first dates occurred when the woman is able to talk about herself. And then it also mentioned to avoid the rear view mirror, which we kind of touched on in the last article, I'm pretty sure. It said that the study found that no matter the motivation, women viewed a partner discussing past relationships with them as a sign of disinterest. So no matter why they brought it up, the reason, like just the fact that they brought it up at all made the woman think, oh, they're not interested in me. They're clearly interested in this other person that they just brought up.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that made sense to me too. I mean, if I went on a first date with someone and one of the first things they do is bring up their ex or bring up all of the other women that they've ever been with, I'll be like, you know what? Either he's just A, not a great guy, or B, like, really not into me, so...
Yeah. Unless you're me in 2011 when I went on that one date with that guy and he brought up his ex-girlfriend, and then I was surprised when he broke up with me for his ex-girlfriend.
You're like, I had no idea this was coming.
There were no signs.
And then the next one, I don't think that you will like very much, but it's a first date is not a job interview. So
it literally is a job interview.
So they said that topics were fine, but specific questions can detract from the overall experience, and that successful dates consisted of high energy shared narratives with few questions. So what are your opinions on that?
Well, I don't like that it says it's not a job interview because I want like a whole resume. I want I want like an entrance interview and then I want an exit interview. Like, side note, I want to talk about this for like just 2 seconds. When you break up, it would be like so great to be like, what are your reasons for leaving the company? Is there anything the company can do better? And like, I'm the company. The company is me. What can I do better? Why are you leaving me? But like, that would be so good for like closure and like self betterment. So like, I use that a lot. Like what, like job, like, I don't know. It is a job interview too. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one woman's study or one woman's opinion was,
it was a study, but it's fine.
And so going kind of off that last point that they were making, the excitement of high energy communication was important. So high energy communication is linked to excitement, and mutual excitement was linked with interpersonal chemistry. And then they also mentioned an unexpected finding was that there was enhanced feeling of bonding with men who interrupted them. So women had enhanced feeling of bonding with men who interrupted them. But they also clarified that these interruptions weren't to change the subject, but rather to support what the women were saying, express agreement, and demonstrate understanding. So I feel like at first I didn't think that made sense, but then when I thought about it a little more, I was like, yeah, no, I guess when someone kind of interrupts me with just to basically be like, oh yeah, no, like that's totally plausible, or like that makes so much sense, or that happened to me, and they don't like completely change the topic and take it away from me, then I can understand being like, yeah, hype me up. Like it's kind of like a hype man in that sense, and it makes me feel better.
I think interjection is a better word. Like if I have a lot of like stories I keep in my back pocket, like that I can just like tell, and so like I have like little like high energy monologues. But when you're talking to somebody, or like if I'm on a date and the guy is just like, oh yeah, and he like interjects, like not changes the topic, like you said, that makes sense because it sounds like he's paying attention, he's interested, he's listening, he has something to add. That totally, I get it. I think that is it's an indication that they're paying attention to you, which is everything.
Yeah, and I think they also mentioned in the article that it was often associated with like women changing pitch and like doing stuff like that, whereas men either got louder or like laughed louder. And so I guess that was a good association, was showing that you're not like super monotone and kind of bored with what you're saying, and the other person's agreeing and like getting kind of a little bit like more excited and hyped up too. So that made sense to me.
This is why all the guys that I thought I went on bad dates with think I've gone on good dates with them, because I change my pitch all the time. I talk up here sometimes, like when I'm like pretending to be somebody else, but then I talk down here sometimes when I'm like making a little joke or a point. So my pitch varies greatly.
I know. I think that's how you keep a conversation interesting and flowing, is like you show that you mean something, or you show that something's funny, or you try and communicate something in a different way by changing your pitch and doing things in a different way. So I don't know. That also made sense to me. But the next article that we have, also from Psychology Today, was
my fave.
I know, right? God, we stan Psychology Today.
We stan Psychology Today.
Was your first date went well, so why don't they want a second? And it kind of just provides some generic explanations for if one person thought that the date went well and the other person didn't follow up with a second date, like why that may have happened. So the first one was, they like you, but not romantically. And essentially that means, oh, they enjoyed your company on the date and like they laughed and had a good time, but they didn't feel enough romantic chemistry specifically. And so that's why they may have declined going out on another romantic date with you. And that feels right. That's a good reason. The next one was, they're not over their ex. So the article said, people go on dates hoping that they will meet someone so great they'll be able to move on and pursue a new relationship, setting an extremely high bar for you to pass. That other person is already emotionally occupied, and they're kind of setting this extreme standard for you. So if you don't, for some reason, pass this high standard, then you won't be getting a second date, which you shouldn't be getting a second date from someone who is still hanging on to past relationships.
Well, it's much better that they don't go on another date with you instead of leading you on for months.
I know. So I think if people are straightforward with the reasons why they don't give second dates, like these, like all of these make sense. Like none of these are so unreasonable that I would be like, oh, that's dumb. Like, go out with me again. Like,
yeah, literally just give a reason, even if it's not you, it's me. That's a cliche, but that's cliche because it's true.
Yeah, or one that I recently heard was, it's just not a good time.
I kind of hate that, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I shared it with someone else, and they said, yeah, I don't super like that, because if it was the right person, it'd be the right time no matter what. And I was like, cool, that doesn't make me feel better, but...
No, but still, like, whatever, just give me a bullshit reason instead of ghosting.
True. I would rather just have a set ending,
no.
A clear ending.
Yeah.
Than an open ending. Their next reason in the article was, you reminded them of someone that doused their flame.
Ooh, douse their flame.
A flame douser.
What? You know what really douses my flame?
I love that, like, we're saying it in the same tone as, like, you know what burns my biscuits? You know what...
That's exactly it.
You know what
like,
douses
wow, really...
my flame? Is when someone says this.
Yeah. Or, like, rains on my parade, douses my flame. Don't douse their flame.
Don't be a flame douser. Come on.
Yeah.
So essentially that whole point was just saying, like, you meet up with, I think one of the examples they gave was, you meet up with them and in their head they're instantly like, oh no, oh my god, they look just like the pictures that I used to see of my dad when he was younger, like old photographs of my dad, or like they remind me exactly of my ex-partner, or they remind me of my cousin or something. And so they have a fun time, but in their head they're like, no, this is kind of weird, so they don't go for a second date.
They can't, like, go past it. That's fair.
That makes sense.
I mean, that would be, like, really tricky. Be like, hey, I had a really great time with you the other night, but you look exactly like my father, so I really can't do this again. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, no, I mean...
I think you'd have to accept that.
I would fully accept that, because I've had people all the time tell me that I remind them of people that I've never met. They'll be like, oh, everything, like the tone that you say things in and the phrases that you say and the gestures you make totally remind me of this like other girl or this other person. And I'm like, oh, that's so weird. But I guess for you, like, I don't know, that makes sense.
Okay. Well, like, thanks for telling me. I don't know her, but I'll take your word for it.
And then the next point that they made in the article was you're too good for them in some way. So
What?
I know it sounds weird, but it kind of makes sense. So it says that people have a good radar for situations that might make them feel bad about themselves. So if one person seems really competent and competitive and ambitious and like go-getter for life, while the other person is like way more casual, way more laid back, not as competitive, they might feel like they're at odds. So the more laid back person might feel like the other person expects them to rise to a standard that they can't meet, or that they may be judged for their lifestyle or something.
They probably
like that.
do.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that they would say it's probably not a big deal in the beginning of the relationship, and then eventually they'd be like, but no, you need to do stuff. You need to do these specific things.
Yeah.
So I think,
well, that just sounds like you're not compatible. I mean, that's a fair reason.
I know, like, people live life in different ways. Like, I could never be with someone who's not punctual. Like, that's just me as a person.
Yeah.
I would want them to rise to the standard of punctuality, and they couldn't meet it. So yeah, there's that. And then the last one was they're just looking to have sex. So you could meet up, have a fun time, but in their head, they're like, okay, I definitely thought this was just going to be a hookup thing, and it seems they're way more interested in having like a long-term type of relationship or a more serious type of relationship. So they're like, better not lead them on and do a second date when that's all I want.
I just remembered I was the casual person once. I hooked up with this guy, and then I thought that might be it. But then he asked me out to dinner, and I was like, okay. Then we went to dinner, and I realized that he was in love with me. This is Purple Rain.
Oh, Purple. Poor Purple. No, not poor Purple Rain.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of a mess. But when I got home, he texted me, and he was like, hey, I just want you to know that I haven't felt like this in a long time. And I immediately replied, and I was like, hey, I had a good time tonight, but I think you're looking for something way more serious than I am right now, and I just don't think we should go out again. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. But I didn't want, like, he wanted to fall in love, and I didn't even really want to see him in the daytime.
I know. I don't understand why he was ever confused about, like, just the way that you guys met and the way your first instance, went. It didn't set the scene to have a long-lasting, loving relationship.
I should have never given him my number. But I thought it would be something fun. But it turned into something weird.
Isn't that how it always goes?
Yes. Thus far in my experience, it has always ended weird.
So on that note, one of the other things that I was looking into when I was doing a little bit of research for this episode was the most popular place to have a first date. And so the mobile dating app Clover has been releasing some information for the past few years on where their users have done like the most dates, I think. So their most popular places, I think it uses about 3.5 million users. So all the data.
Wow. I've never even like heard of anybody on Clover, but there's 3.5
I know,
million people.
exactly. I think this was the first time that I heard about it, and then it was like, oh, we released this study of like millions of users about the top places, and I was like, okay, all right, Clover, do your thing. So I thought it would be interesting to compare the results that they released in 2015 versus the results that they released in 2018, so a little more recent. And I have the top 3 places for both years.
Okay.
So do you think and I want to be straightforward, none of these places are like super outstanding places, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like just set the bar a little lower than you might initially for a first date, and then tell me what you think. So for 2015, tell me what you think the number 1 date spot was for Clover users.
Starbucks.
I can't believe that
I got it?
that you would guess that right.
Was that right?
Because it is. That's like
Yes. Oh, are you kidding?
I don't know why, but like that didn't even when I
Oh
was
my God.
reading this list, I was like that wouldn't even
No.
cross my mind. And
Well,
of
the
course,
coffee date.
of course you would get it because
Yeah.
I'm so bad at guessing and you're so good at guessing.
I love games. I love these.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
we should have bet a drink on this.
I know, God, I'm glad we didn't.
I'm like very impressed with myself. So Starbucks.
So
Okay,
Starbucks,
that makes sense,
Starbucks in 2015 is number 1. So
Okay.
what do you think the second and third ones are?
Is the second one like a walk in the park or something like that?
It is not. So I think there is. I think they did release like Central Park or like a walk in the park or something was lower on the list. So that was a possibility, but it definitely wasn't in the top like 10. So
Okay.
these were all.
Is this like a?
These are all establishments. These are all like brands
Okay.
and places.
So these are names that I would know. So it's not like generic.
Yes, these are names you would know, and these are names that we
Okay.
also have on the East Coast, if that helps.
Okay. Olive Garden.
No, not top 3. I love me an Olive Garden date, but it's not up there.
I was about to make fun of it, but I would be happy with an. I love Olive Garden.
I like Olive Garden. A, it's endless salad and breadsticks. B,
Yeah,
I like
their
shrimp
dressing,
scampi.
I'm
I think it tastes
really
good there.
into.
C,
PSA,
they have good
we know
drinks.
it's not Italian, but we're not claiming it is. It's just good.
yeah,
Leave
no,
us
it's just
alone.
miscellaneous foods. It's like a lot of
Noodles.
pasta. It's fine. It's not Italian.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
very processed.
That should be the
and I like
tagline
it a
for
lot.
Olive Garden. It's not Italian. It's whatever. Go there.
Okay, but that's not it. That's You said it's like it's not. I want to say like frozen yogurt because I feel like frozen yogurt was a thing.
I
in
feel like that
2015.
would be better. I would like that more. But since you're
Okay, well, what is it
yeah,
then?
so you're not getting it. So number
Sorry.
2 is Chipotle.
What?
It's Chipotle.
I would never eat a burrito on a first date.
Like
Are you
what
kidding?
a high risk. A burrito. B a Chipotle burrito.
Yeah, that's a no. Hard pass.
That is a hard frickin' pass. So yeah, so that's number 2. And then
These people.
yeah,
What are they thinking?
I don't know. They just have no regards for their gastrointestinal systems.
Yeah, all those beans. You don't expect this date to go well, do you?
And then the third place was Panera, which
Okay.
yeah, it's better.
I wouldn't go to Panera on a date because I'd be really worried I'd run into my dad because he frequents the Panera around these parts.
That's a very specific concern.
It is, but that's what I thought about. I was like, oh, I would see my dad at the Panera. I don't want to go on a date there.
I think I wouldn't mind it. It's like it's a very quick restaurant type thing. So
Very
if you
cash,
wanted to
yeah.
if you wanted to sit there a little longer, you could. But like it could also
Yeah.
be done in like 20 minutes. So
It feels like a high school date to me.
it does. It feels like a 16 to 19-year-old
Yeah,
date.
yeah.
So maybe that's why.
Okay.
Maybe a lot of Clover users are younger. Who
Very
knows?
Interesting.
But the study in 2015 also found that men prefer restaurants, whereas women prefer coffee shops for a first date. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Coffee shops. Well, like if you order a coffee, it's much. You can kind of dictate how long your date is. Like you can drink your coffee and be like, "Oh, I have to run. It was nice to meet you," or you could just like sit and talk for a long time. You kind of are in control of that. Whereas if you go to a restaurant, I mean, not really Chipotle the same, but if you went to Olive Garden, you
Like
would
a
be
sit-down restaurant.
Yeah. Those are the only restaurants, Chipotle and Olive Garden. You would be kind of bound by
the time
it takes. Yeah, and they bring the check, and then it's like a little bit more formal, and like a coffee is a little bit more like a feeling it out. Like this can be long or short, and I can escape if I need to.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly probably why women prefer coffee and guys prefer restaurants. So Clover also released another top list in 2018. And can you guess the top 3 spots in 2018?
Well, we have some notes for this episode that we're going over, so I know the number 1 place stayed the same. So Starbucks is number 1. Like it's
what?
written here.
How'd she do
Yeah.
it?
I'm literate. Number 2. It's a restaurant. Are these all restaurants?
Yes. Okay, they're restaurants, but they're along the same veins as the last one where they're not super formal restaurants. I will say that.
Okay, so like fast casual or something.
Yes.
Give me another hint.
So the second one you've definitely been to before. They have them where we live. It's more like an East Coast or like even I guess I would say kind of southern place.
Chick-fil-A.
Yes, which I would not. I would
almost
not have
said
guessed
that before. I almost said that before, but that feels like also very 16. So maybe
It's very 16. Like I don't have, I guess I should say I don't have anything against people who go to Chick-fil-A or Chipotle or Panera or anything like that for a date in general, but for a first date,
a first date
in particular, I would not take them to Chick-fil-A. That's just not my style.
Yeah.
So that was odd to me. And it's also, like, it was confusing to me that was so high up when that's definitely just
that's the second
like,
place.
It's just an East Coast thing, too. So it's like a super fast casual eatery, fast food thing, and it's only one side of the country. So I don't know. I wouldn't have guessed that. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
What do you think the third one is? And I will say it's on the other side, and I don't think you've been to one before. So West Coast.
In-N-Out Burger.
It is. It is In-N-Out Burger. If we know one thing about the West Coast is that they have these.
In-N-Out Burger. I've never been there, but I've never been to the West Coast.
I've been to Washington State.
That's okay.
That's the West Coast.
Burger?
I didn't go to one if they had them. I mean, they may have them there, but I did not.
I don't know. That feels like super cash. I don't know. Anytime there's French fries in like a paper thing, I don't.
This makes me think of all of those.
Am I pretentious?
It just makes me think of all those meme pages that share images of people going to like In-N-Out Burger or Chick-fil-A, and then they're sitting in their car, and they're like, "Would you consider this a good date?" Or like, "This is the perfect first date," or something. And I'm like, "Is
Not
it
a good first date?
Because
it's a good time though.
It's like a fun time just hanging out with like your partner. I think that like could be a fun time of like you guys spending time together.
Sarah, you and me can go get food.
We've
sit in the
we've
car.
We've gone
and
to
shoot
Chick-fil-A and gotten food.
Yeah,
and
we definitely have. That was a great date.
But yeah, no. So it just makes me think of all of that, and that makes me think of either A, like youngsters, like you're 16 and you're doing this,
children,
or like B, I don't know. I just wouldn't want to do that for a first date.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So there's.
I made a list of places I've been on first dates. Like, I literally, before we started this, I sat down, I wrote a list of every first date I can remember that I've been on. And this starts with, like, 8th grade, so it's, like, that was a group date to a movie. And then we just went to a movie, and then we went home. And then I had dinner, and we walked on the beach for a date. I walked around downtown for a date. We dinner and a movie, dinner and drinks again, just dinner. And then we went back to his house and talked for a long time. But just dinner, I guess. And then drinks, and then drinks, and then drinks, and then drinks. So I've changed my tune, and I mostly just say, I mostly just go, hey, do you want to go grab a drink? Because that's the same principle as a coffee, where I can be like, oh, one drink, I gotta go. Like, it was nice to meet you. Or I could be like, stay all night until the bar closes.
I feel like it's I don't want to say alcoholics version of the coffee shop, but
I'm not good at waking up early. When am I supposed to go before work? Or am I supposed to get up on a Saturday? No, I'm not doing that.
I'm definitely an evening to nighttime gal, just for lighting purposes.
Yeah.
I look best in dimness.
Well, I kind of like to do happy hour. And then, like, you can extend it into dinner if you want, and then you can keep going. Like, you can, it, like, gives you a lot more options. Whereas, like, if you're just do happy hour, you can do 1 drink or 2 drinks and then be done. Like, I gotta go. Or you could just make it last as long as you want. And I don't have to get up early.
So, for your drink-only dates, do you drive there or do you Uber there?
Well, I am in a unique situation. I have streamlined my process where I wear the same outfit, go to the same bar, and order the same drink every time for these last 4 drink dates.
These guys are going to form a support group where they just talk about how you did the exact same thing for all of them.
Well, eliminate the variables, right? Like, just change out the guy, so I'm the same every time.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, but no, so I'm in a unique position because the bar I have chosen is my friend Sarah, not you, Sarah, but Sarah Cockcroft, shout out, hey. Her parents live like a block and a half from this bar, and I'm friends with her mom. I'm friends with both of her parents, but I'm like tight with her mom. Hey, Rhonda. But I park at their house, and then I walk to the bar. So if I need to, I can ditch my car and come back and get it later. But in general, if you were going to drink, and it wasn't like I went on a date on like a Tuesday, and I knew that even if it went really great, I had to go to work the next day, so I was just gonna have like 1 or 2 drinks anyway. That I drove to regardless. But if it's a Friday and you think your date's gonna go well, probably just Uber to that. You know, or even if you think it's gonna go bad, but there's potential for you to stay out, just Uber.
You're like, it's gonna go bad, and I'm gonna ditch him, but I'm gonna drink anyways.
Hell yeah. Also, you could just go out with your friends if it's a Friday. You go to the date sucks, your friends are out, go meet them. Get it, Uber.
Always have a backup plan.
I always have a backup plan for first date. Or sometimes even more than that. When T-Shirt and I were doing whatever we were doing in like the fall, I literally, anytime he and I made plans, I would make plans with somebody else. And guess what? He backed out every single time. So I did my plans with somebody else, and I was really glad to have them because that way I wasn't sad.
That's smart. I mean...
it's a little
weird, but
it was not healthy.
Okay,
but it worked.
So you mentioned that you always wear the same thing. So what do you recommend for outfits for a first date? Because I have no idea what to do in this department. I don't like anything that I have right now, so I have no idea.
So I'll tell you what I've been wearing on these dates. You can actually see it on our Instagram. It's the outfit that I wore to that party that I drug you to at my middle school crushes.
Oh, yeah.
So if you go back it was like a couple months ago, but if you go back and look on our Instagram, actually, I think I'm wearing that shirt in like 2 pictures on our Instagram, but it's fine. I have a black top. It's like a t-shirt top. It's kind of low cut. It's got definitely some cleavage. It's got like a peplum bottom on it and some flowers embroidered on it. So it's casual, but like kind of cute. And then I have a pair of jeans that are dark wash. They have a rip in the knee, so they're just like super cash. And I think they make my butt look okay. And then I try to wear a little bit of a heel. It changes based off of the time of year. Like, I wore booties in the winter, and in the hot, I have these sandals with like wedges, or not wedges, but like a platform. So I have a little bit of height because I feel a little bit more confident with a little bit of height. And I always wear big hoop earrings because that's my signature move. But that's what I wear. And so jeans and a cleavagey top is my recommendation.
I think that's nice because it's casual, but it's also showing off a little something, something.
Yeah.
And the slight platform or like heel or anything kind of elevates it too. So I think that's a good, and I always love black. I love wearing black tops, so.
I almost exclusively own black tops. So that's my thing. It's from American Eagle if you want to see if you can find it.
Maybe. Once I have money again.
So I know you've done a lot of heavy lifting on the research on this episode, but I did a very quick Google search.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah, basically the same. About what to wear on a first date. And I found a Cosmo article that's called 5 First Date Outfits and What They Say About You. But I realized it was from 2014. So I Googled again where I was like, First Date Outfits 2019. And I found a website called whowhatwear.com. And they have 7 outfit ideas for a casual first date. And I thought we could go through them really quick and compare.
Sounds good.
So in the 2014 Cosmo article, the first one, this feels very you. It says, a skirt with Converse.
I feel somewhat offended by that analysis.
Don't.
I mean, you're not wrong because from 16 to 18, that was very me. I had a black A-line skirt that I really liked, and I would wear with like a shirt tucked in and Converse, and that was like my cute outfit going out style. So that was very on brand.
This outfit. It says, I'm an alt sprite who enjoys foreign films and browsing Etsy for the most esoteric room decorations.
Oh god, that makes me want to barf. Oh no.
That's not you. That's what it says. It says about you.
Do you think that's what people thought of me when
No.
they saw me walking
I
down
think
the
absolutely
street.
not.
I
That's
also
not
had like
true.
a really short bob at that time, so like
Really?
I think I think it was kind of sending mixed signals because I had like an old lady's haircut, but I had like a skater girl's outfit. So
I feel like skater girl is the vibe it sends, not whatever that said.
yeah, so
Okay, the next outfit is jeans and a low-cut top, which is exactly what I said a second ago. And this says, hey, look how chill I am because I'm not wearing a dress. I'm one of the guys, but boobs though. Look at my boobs. And I feel very called out because I'm like, yes,
I feel like that's how a lot of girls feel though, where they're like, we want to be seen as like casual and chill and fun and able to hang out with, but we don't want you to forget the reason why we're all here.
Yeah. No, that's exactly. Okay, next it says a maxi dress, which says hippie side. That makes sense.
I like a maxi dress.
That's good for me. Next it says a little black dress and heels, which it says, unless you're going to the fanciest bar ever, you may be overdoing it. And I feel that because I like a little black dress and heels, but like, where am I going? Like, I can't, that neighborhood bar that I walk to from my friend's parents' house, I'm not going to show up in a little black dress and heels.
I don't have a little black dress right now.
I have so many if you want to borrow one.
Yeah, so just mail me one, please.
Okay. I keep buying them, so, and not wearing them, so I can send you one. And then finally it says a wrap dress, and it says a tad formal for a first date, but classy.
I love me a wrap dress, I will say.
Yeah.
I just recently discovered that I liked wrap dresses. I think that I recently discovered that I thought they looked good on my body type. And
they are very flattering.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I have one that I could think of and then a couple wrap tops. So I think I'm slowly but surely going to have like 10 wrap items in my wardrobe because I think that they look good on me. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think they look good too. And then I'm going to very quickly go through this 7 outfit ideas for a casual first date from 2019 because I think these are very trendy and not realistic. The first one says casual t-shirt and leather pants. That's a no from me. This next one feels like you. Denim jacket, wrap dress, and white sneakers.
That does. I think I have all of those items, so I could do that one.
It's trendy. The next one also feels like you. Flirty halter top and double denim. So denim jacket and jeans with a cute top.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have any halter tops, but I would definitely do double denim. I am a fan of double denim.
Yeah. Okay, this next one says satin top, skinny jeans, and strappy heels, which is like fine, I guess.
It's a little classier than any place I can imagine myself going on a first date, but oh well.
This next one says swordle.
Does it say swirtle? So, this next outfit says swirtle. Oh no.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Okay, we have to calm and center. Okay, ready? This next outfit is a sweater and a floral skirt, which, not me.
That was me in freshman to sophomore year of college for sure.
It's got like these, in the pictures, there's like a floor-length skirt.
Oh no, I loved this outfit sophomore year. I would wear it all the time. I would wear tights and these short boots and a floral skirt and like just like a normal top, like a normal like, kind of like cami or tank top, and then a sweater over that. And that was
like a cardigan. This has got
no. This is like an actual sweater, just like a plain sweater, and I would wear that over it.
I was a big cardi girl. I wore a lot of cardigans.
Oh, I do. I still to this day love cardigans.
I've kind of eased up on them, but yeah. Okay. Next, it says high neck top, jeans, and kitten heels. I am anti kitten heel.
I feel like that's the aesthetic that I would one day like to achieve, but I'm definitely not at the point in my life yet where I can achieve it because I think I like all of those things separately, but I just don't have a good outfit that I could put them all together with now.
Okay, well, you have time. And this last one says basic t-shirt, printed skirt, and block heel, and I hate it.
No, none of that sounds good to me.
I'm not gonna wear that. Okay. And I think if you wore any of these outfits on a first date, the guy would be like, what the fuck is she wearing? Except for maybe the dress with the denim jacket and the tennis shoes.
I hope, because you said that one was the most me.
Well, I think that's the most, like, wearable in the world.
Like, it's
that,
the
like,
most
makes sense.
normal, yeah. Like, casual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's what I have on what to wear on a first date.
Thank you. I'll heed this advice.
Okay.
So, for kind of like a wrap-up topic, I thought we could talk about, or really you could talk about, your most memorable first date. And that can be memorable in a good or a bad way. So take the floor.
I'm going to go with the bad way.
Isn't it always?
I've only... all but one of them. But I don't want to talk about football anymore. Do you have any first date stories before I jump into this?
None that are like so memorable in either a good or a bad way.
Okay. Well, then I'll just hop in. This was junior year of college. I had class with this guy. We're going to call him Dragon Boy. I think I've alluded to him before in this episode too. We had class together, but I didn't talk to him. I didn't really know him at all. And I got to class early every day, and so did he, but we didn't, like, speak. And then one day, we're the only two in the classroom, like, we're still, like, 20 minutes before class starts. And he turns around, and he looks at me, and he goes, hey, and he introduces himself, and he's like, do you want to get dinner sometime? And I'm just kind of taken aback, because I'm like, I didn't even know, I didn't think about him as a person, nonetheless a romantic, like, endeavor. And I was just like, yeah, sure. Okay. Like, I had nothing to lose. Like, he was, like, 5 out of 10. Like, he wasn't unattractive, but he wasn't, like, drop dead. Like, I just didn't really pay attention to him before. He had a beard. It was in dark hair. So I was like, all right, I'll bite. That said, we meet. He asked me out on, like, a Monday. So I actually saw him in class.
That's weird.
Twice before we went
I feel
out.
like that would make me feel weird.
Oh, it did. It gave me a lot of anxiety. I was very on the fence the whole week. But then, so, like, we had class that Friday morning, and then I went out with him that Friday night. And we met at the place, and I get there, and when he asked me out, he had a beard and no glasses. But when I get there, he has no beard and glasses. Which, like...
That's just a whole other person, though.
Yeah. He didn't look good.
That's like a half catfish.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then, like, okay, so he was wearing glasses, but they were transition lens glasses? So they're like sunglasses?
My mom has those.
Yeah, that's what we like to call a flame douser.
That's what we in the biz call dousing the flame.
Yeah, doused the flame there, for sure. But I'm like, all right, we have to get through this. So we get inside, and I'm like, he's not attractive, which is a whole bummer, because that's like what you want in a date, for them to be attractive. And we're talking, and we have like nothing in common. Also, I find out he's like 5 years older than I am. I was 21, he was like 26, which is fine. Like, that wouldn't have been a problem.
But it's still a little jarring when you think that they're the same age.
I thought he was my age, but because we had class together, but he had like gone back to school or something. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And like, I don't know, like 5 years older than me, I felt like he should have his shit together. And he obviously didn't. He was like living at home. Anyway, but we were talking and we can't find a single thing in common. I'm like, well, I like this music. He's like, well, I like this music. And he likes movies. So we finally end on talking about movies, which I haven't seen any movies, but I had just rented Maleficent from the Redbox. So I was like, oh, I saw this. Let me talk about this. And I was like, yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. Angelina Jolie did a really good job. And he was like, I don't really like Angelina Jolie, but I really like dragons. And I go, oh? And at that point, I was just like trying not to look like I wanted to run away really bad. Because, like, what the fuck? And yeah, so I'm just like sitting there. And like, he said a bunch of other really weird stuff on this date that I'm not even going to mention. But he was just like going on and on about this dragon stuff. And he's talking about this video game about dragons. And he's like, yeah, there's a video game that used to be in the United States, but now they're only released in Japan. And so I'm writing a petition to Japan to try to get the video game back. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, how is this my life? And we were going to a movie afterwards, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to go to the movie or if I should just bail. And right when I'm like I like offered to pay, but he wouldn't let me. And then we are leaving, and I was trying to like decide if I could like make an exit and be like, oh, I gotta go before the movie. But he was like, I'm so glad you came out. I haven't been on a date in a really long time.
Which feels like a red flag.
Oh, I was already way over it. But I was like, I felt so bad. I was like, I can't ditch now. Which, like, I don't know what would have been the right move. But I went and saw the movie with him. And I felt so bad because he was the one who bought the tickets and was like, oh, we can use the points next time. And I was like, oh, no, we can't. There's no next time. There's hardly a this time. But,
that poor dragon boy.
I know. But he texted me. We had like spring break the next week, so I didn't have to see him for a week, which was great. And he texted me and he asked me out again, like the next day. And I was like, hey, thank you so much for the other night, but I don't think I'm interested in going out again. Like, I appreciate it, but no, thank you. I didn't really give him a reason, but I just was like,
I mean, that's polite enough.
Yeah.
It's straightforward and polite enough.
Yeah, and then like we had like a couple more weeks of class before summer, and it was just like a little bit awkward, but it was fine. And then he messaged me on Facebook like 2 years later. Like I had moved and I was living in Charleston, and he like messaged me and like tried to ask me out again. And I was like, dude, no. Why would you think I want to go out with you? I already said no. Plus, I don't live there anymore.
That's typical for guys. Also, for you, I feel like it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
They like 1 to 2 years later they like to message you.
Yeah, too late. Even I had already said no though. I don't get it. Whatever. That's like Purple Rain did that too. He messaged me late in the game. I don't understand anything.
I don't either.
But that's probably my most memorable first date because, like
what was happening?
Yeah, all of it was just a lot.
Like, it's
bad.
very much the stereotypical bad stuff. Like, he looks different than what you thought he was gonna look like. You have nothing in common. He's talking about dragons a lot.
Yeah, like if I was writing a rom-com and I had to write a bad date, it would be that date.
So that's fun for you.
Oh, yes. It's a joy. But I think that's about all I have to say about first dates.
I think that's all I have to say about first dates, too. I think we covered a lot of the bases. And so what are your takeaways for this episode?
Okay, my takeaways are get a routine. Find an outfit, find a bar, find a drink. Do it over and over and over again until something works. My second takeaway is if you ask me out and you have a beard, please show up to the date with a beard. Because I liked it. Or vice versa. Like if you ask me out and no beard, show up the way you asked. Like I'm not going to cut my hair like into a pixie cut, you know?
That's
crazy.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much it. Be polite.
That's a good takeaway too. Be straightforward, be polite. I think for me, it would be try and ask intriguing questions, try and bounce off of each other and kind of do more narratives rather than very specific job interviewee questions, which I know you don't like, but I think that. I also think that, there's good reasons for not having a second date, even if you thought the first one went well, that I didn't realize. There's so many reasons. But it's just a good opportunity for you to get out there and be in the world and meet new people and converse and laugh and have fun regardless. So just be open, I think. Yeah. And go to Starbucks.
In summary.
Apparently.
Yeah, sure. In summary, be open, be honest, be kind.
That should be our new tagline.
Yeah, be open, be honest, be kind. Which is
we're like the slutty Mr. Rogers.
Yep, that's us. On that note, if you have any comments, concerns, anecdotes, advice, instructions, love letters you want to send us, our Instagram and Twitter DMs are open. We are the Lonely Sluts on both of those. We also have a Gmail, thelonelysluts@gmail.com. Thank you so very much for listening to us. You're probably tired of hearing us talk today. We talked a very long time, but this is an important topic, hopefully Sarah has the courage to go out on some first dates up in Pittsburgh, and we'll have some new content to update you on.
We'll see. We'll see. Now that I know what to wear, maybe I'll go.
There we go. Well, hopefully that little teaser will tide you over until next time. But thank you so much for listening.
Bye.